Hello, welcome to Crack Shot Chronicles. Today I'd like to discuss my 10 reasons why I think a revolver is better suited than a semi-automatic for a new shooter. Now, the two guns that I have to make this comparison is the Taurus Tracker with a 2.5-inch barrel. This one is chambered in 44 Magnum, and it can shoot 44 Magnum, which kicks extremely violently, much more powerful than a novice shooter can handle, or it can shoot a 44 Special. With the 44 Special, it barely kicks. The gun is heavy enough that it absorbs most of the recoil, that he will not be frightened by it. It is a all steel frame, and it is a 5-shot revolver. On this side here, I have a 45 ACP made by Springfield Armory. This is the XD45. Now this one is one of the older models where it actually has a thumb safety. More than the newer ones, they have removed that thumb safety. It doesn't have it anymore. So now that we know what we're working at, let's proceed. Oh, by the way, this particular gun holds 13 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber for a total of 13 rounds. Now, starting with number 1. Revolvers are more difficult to cause an unintentional discharge. Now, this is the revolver. In order to fire this gun, you have to put your finger on the trigger and pull it. Now, if you notice, it's a very long and trigger pull. It's also very heavy. You cannot shoot this by accident. It takes a deliberate effort to pull the trigger. You have to put thought into it. Now, this is a double action, which means I can cock it, and now it can fire in single action mode. In this condition, the slightest thought of pulling the trigger is barely effortlessly, and it goes off. But in double action mode, it takes a long and stiff trigger pull to discharge the gun, making it virtually impossible to unintentionally discharge it. Semi-automatics only have about a 4 to 6 pound trigger pull on this. Once you take the weapon off safe, get it ready to fire it, it doesn't take any effort to take up the slack. At that point, the slightest little bump and the gun goes bang. It doesn't take any effort. So it's much easier to unintentionally pull the trigger with a semi-automatic when you are a novice shooter, especially under the stressful conditions of being in a gunfight. Number 2. Revolvers have fixed barrels. By having a fixed barrel, any gun that the barrel is permanently attached to the gun and allows the bullet to be perfectly in line with the barrel, by design is inherently more accurate. A semi-automatic, the rounds are actually in the magazine well, stacked up in a magazine. You stick the magazine in the magazine well, and by the way, this is what the magazines look like. You stick the magazine in the magazine well, then you have to pull the slide to the rear, chamber it, so the round goes out of here and into here. Now, that is a lot of movement that round has to go before it gets in line with the barrel. Next, the slide will move back and forth like this when you are firing. Once it goes into the rear position, the gun's going to kick back when it stops, and then it's going to go forward to chamber the round, and it's going to kick forward when it hits a stop. That's movement that does not exist with a revolver. A second thing, the barrel floats. You can listen. I am wiggling it. You could see the barrel moves. Let me see if I can get you to see it. See, the barrel is moving, but the gun is staying stationary. That movement will affect shot placement. Not enough to determine if you're going to survive the gunfight or not, but it does affect shot placement. Number 3. Revolvers are generally more powerful. The most powerful handguns in the world right now is a revolver. Usually the 500 Magnum. With semi-automatics, the most powerful gun you can get in the world, more than likely is going to be a 44 Magnum in a Desert Eagle. That requires an extremely big gun, a huge, massive, heavy platform. And it doesn't work very well because it's shooting a revolver designed cartridge in a semi-automatic. Now this one here is a 45 ACP, and it shoots very well. But a semi-automatic, by design, requires a certain power band. The gun's power can't go but so far to the weak side, and it can't go but so far to the strong side, or the gun will have problems. Too weak and it won't cycle efficiently. Too strong and you'll wear out your gun prematurely or break it. With a revolver, since it doesn't have these moving parts like that one does, it can withstand a more violent shot. So the power load can be a lot more powerful, and it can shoot a much weaker bullet, because as long as the round is powerful enough to push the projectile out of the barrel and make it exit, you can shoot an extremely weakened load, because it doesn't require power from the round to cycle the gun. Number 4. Revolvers are less likely to fail. The only way a revolver will fail is if something breaks. Or something gets jammed in here. A twig or something gets in the mechanism, particularly underneath this part here, the star that holds the rounds in, and it can cause it not to rotate. If something impedes this cylinder from rotating, the gun can't go bang unless it is broken. A broken gun is not a malfunction. A broken gun is a failure. Revolvers are very, very reliable because of that. Semi-automatics have a lot of moving parts here. The slide has to slide undisturbed. The springs have to work in and out undisturbed. And it is a greater probability that the gun may fail to extract, fail to eject. It could fail to feed. It could fail to fire. If it does, you have to do a stoppage drill to clear the malfunction and continue fighting. With a revolver, if you pull the trigger and the gun does not go bang, more than likely you have a bad round. All you have to do is pull the trigger again and the gun will go off. It is highly unlikely that you're going to have 2 bad rounds in a revolver. Number 5. Revolvers are less complicated. As you can see, simplicity. Pick up gun, pull trigger, gun go bang. With a semi-automatic, first you have to deactivate the safety. Make sure the grip safety is deactivated by having a firm grip. Make sure that you activate this trigger finger. You notice there's a little piece in there, that little second trigger, that's a safety. So all these have to be in sync in order for the gun to go bang. So as a result, if any one of these things are failed to be negotiated with by your hand correctly, like for example, if you forget to take the weapon off safe, if you don't hold it here with the web of your hand, any one of the things can cause a malfunction. If it fails to feed, fails to extract, fails to eject, or fails to fire, that causes a malfunction. None of these features are capable in a revolver. Okay, number 7. More projectile choices. With a revolver, as long as the round is designed for this particular gun, in other words, if you fire a 38 special in a 357 Magnum, or a 38 special, a 357 Magnum and a 357 Magnum, a 44 Magnum and a 44 Magnum, as long as that round is chambered for that gun, it doesn't matter if the projectile itself is a semi-wad cutter, lead, ball, full metal jacket, copper, doesn't matter what the shape of the projectile is, it's going to work in the gun. With a semi-automatic, the bullet has to climb out of the magazine, climb the feed ramp, and go into the chamber. To do that successfully, the best round for it is a full metal jacket ball round. If you put semi-wad cutters, you run into problems with jamming. Wad cutters won't feed at all. Some of the ballistic tip rounds won't feed at all. They'll jam in there. So it depends on the gun and the ammo selection. You have to test your gun to make sure that it's going to work. Otherwise, it will jam. That's not the case with a revolver. Number 8. A revolver only has 6 shots. This one only has 5. Now you can get some revolvers that have 7 or 8 shots, but no revolver is going to have the capabilities of a, say, something like a 13 round or 15 round semi-automatic. As a result, because of that one feature, because your revolver is going to have less bullet, a shooter has to make every shot count. So when he points this gun at the bad guy, he consciously knows, I have to make this shot count. And he's going to pull the trigger and hit every time to the best of his ability. With a semi-automatic, since you have so many rounds, you have a natural tendency to be lazy and not concentrate on the principles of marksmanship in a gunfight, and you just want to pull the trigger as fast as you can. If you miss, you don't care because you could just shoot again. Problem with that is you are legally liable for every shot you fire. Greater probability is one of the misses that you may hit somebody you weren't supposed to hit, as opposed to this. Because with this, since you have less bullets before you have to reload, you're going to make every shot count. Number 9, recoil cannot cause a revolver to malfunction. It is a fixed gun, one piece pretty much. Well, it's more than one piece. But for the most part, you pull the trigger, gun goes bang. It can recoil all it wants, and it does not affect how the gun fires. With a semi-automatic, if it recoils and if you have what's called limp wristing, where this part here you don't hold it straight because you don't have a firm grip, and you allow the gun to whip back violently enough, it will rob power from the slide as it has a cycle back and forth, and it may fail to pick up the next round. And therefore you have now a malfunction induced by limp wristing. That's not going to happen because of recoil on a revolver. It can happen because of recoil on a semi-automatic. Number 10. I can choose if I'm going to shoot this gun in single action mode like this, which will give me a much more accurate shot because the gun is not being disturbed as much when I pull the trigger. Or I can choose a double action. You can't do that with a semi-automatic. So whatever accuracy enhancements you have on the gun, that's all you get. You cannot say, I'm going to shoot or the first shot. Well, some guns you can say, I'm going to shoot the first shot in double action mode, in single action mode, by chambering the round and cocking the hammer manually, or chambering the round and letting the hammer stay back and then pulling the trigger. But after that gun cycles, every other shot after that is going to be double action. So the first shot will be single action. Every shot after that will be double action. On a striker fire like this, all shots are double action. So those are the 10 reasons why I think a revolver is better suited for a novice shooter than a semi-automatic. If you like this video, please hit subscribe and also hit like. If you'd like to make a comment, I would greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.